The price of control, memory, emotion, and power in both Snowfall and The Giver. When we talk about power, we usually think about weapons, money, or institutions. But the most effective form of control isn't even physical, it's emotional. It's the ability to shape what people feel and, even more importantly, what they remember. In my video essay, we are looking at two different stories. Snowfall, a gritty crime drama show about the crack epidemic in 1980s Los Angeles, and The Giver, a dystopian film about a society that chooses safety over humanity. Even though one is rooted in real history and the other is fiction, both show us the same truth. Systems of power rely on controlling emotion and memory to maintain dominance. Bell Hooks states in All About Love that domination thrives when people become emotionally disconnected from each other, from themselves, and from the truth. This idea sits at the heart of both Snowfall and The Giver. Power doesn't just operate by force, it operates by shaping how people feel. Rage becomes criminalized, love becomes weakness, memories become dangerous. Michel Foucault's work in Discipline and Punish expands on this, showing how institutions aim to produce compliant bodies, people who don't question, don't resist, and don't imagine alternatives. But Snowfall and The Giver explore these theories through narrative and visual storytelling. They show worlds where controlling emotion isn't just encouraged, it's required to keep the system running. In Snowfall, the US government's involvement in the crack epidemic isn't just political, it's psychological warfare. Entire black communities are destabilized through addiction, poverty, and violence, all while the state rewrites the narrative to hide its own brand. Franklin Saint begins as a hopeful, ambitious kid. There's warmth in the early shots of him, sunlight, family, and community. But as the system pulls him deeper and deeper into the drug trade, that light disappears. His emotional range narrows. Hope becomes paranoia. Love becomes liability, and vulnerability becomes impossible. Franklin Saint is forced to suppress every part of himself to survive, and at this point, the system turns emotional disconnection into a requirement. By the final seasons, Franklin isn't just a victim of state power, he becomes an enforcer of it. Mirroring the coldness of the institutions that shaped him, his transformation shows how power succeeds by reshaping what people believe they are allowed to feel. In The Giver, we see a seemingly opposite approach. Instead of chaos, we see a world built on perfect order. Conflict doesn't exist because emotion doesn't exist. Pain is gone, but so is joy. The harmony of the community depends on erasing memory, because our memories encourage us to compare, desire, and rebel. If you can't remember a world with color, love, or freedom, you will not demand one. Jonas's awakening begins the moment he receives memories of real emotion. And just like Franklin, Jonas realizes that emotional awareness is a threat to the system. The community frames emotion as dangerous because it leads to choice, something Foucault would argue institutions fear most. Jonas's journey is a quiet rebellion. By reclaiming feeling, he disrupts the entire structure. When we first look at them, Franklin Saint and Jonas couldn't be more different. But emotionally, their characters mirror each other. Both are young men navigating systems designed to restrict their emotional worlds. Franklin loses emotion to survive, while Jonas gains emotion to resist. Franklin's world makes feeling a weapon, while Jonas's world eliminates it. Yet both stories raise the same question. What does freedom mean if someone else decides what you're allowed to feel or remember? When we put both of these together, the message becomes clear. Power depends on emotional regulation. In Snowfall, the state destabilizes communities and controls the story of blame. In The Giver, the state maintains order by removing emotional capacity. Both are forms of what Bell Hooks describes as emotional domination, the denial of genuine connection. Foucault would argue that both are disciplinary systems. One uses chaos while the other uses order, but the goal is the same: eliminate unpredictable emotion because emotion can spark resistance. In the end, Snowfall and The Giver warn us about the same danger. The moment we lose control of our memories and emotions, we lose control of ourselves. Whether it's through violence or peace, any system that controls what we feel is shaping who we become, and the price of control is always humanity. This is the true cost of power and the true meaning behind emotional freedom.